Wisdom Shorts.
Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Winston Churchill. In May 1940, Winston Churchill stood alone in the War Cabinet Room, facing the darkest hour in British history. His own ministers surrounded him, their faces grim with defeat. "Prime Minister," urged Lord Halifax, "we must negotiate with Hitler. Britain cannot survive alone." Churchill looked around the room at the faces of despair. France had fallen, America remained neutral, and Nazi bombs rained on London nightly. His foreign secretary pressed harder. "Winston, be reasonable. We've lost everything." Churchill walked slowly to the great map of Europe on the wall. Without a word, Churchill stared at the red pins marking Nazi conquests. His ministers, full of resignation, watched helplessly. The pins covered nearly all of Europe: France, Poland, Norway, Belgium, Holland. Britain stood alone, a tiny island against the Nazi war machine. Suddenly, and without warning, Churchill swept his hand across the map, scattering the red pins to the floor. His ministers gasped in shock as the pins clattered across the marble. Churchill's eyes blazed with defiance that would inspire a nation. "Gentlemen," he roared, his voice echoing through the chamber, "you see defeat where I see destiny." The room fell silent. His ministers stared at him, their faces transforming from despair to wonder. "But Winston," one whispered, "how can you have hope when everything seems lost?" Churchill turned from the map, his jaw set with determination that would change history. "Tell me," he said, "what defines a man, his victories or his refusal to surrender?" "His victories, surely," they replied, confused. Churchill shook his head with that famous bulldog resolve. "When you understand that success is not final and failure is not fatal," he declared, "when you realize that only the courage to continue truly counts, then you discover that defeat is impossible for those who refuse to accept it." Britain never surrendered. 5 years later, Churchill stood victorious in Berlin. True strength is not measured by how many times we fall, but by how many times we rise. When our determination becomes stronger than our circumstances, we transform impossible odds into inevitable victory.